I will start off by explaining what holographic breathing is. And there's a gentle motion of the jaw in holographic breathing. On the in-breath, the jaw is very gently opening, and on the out-breath, the jaw is very gently closing. And it's not a big movement, it's only a few millimeters, about half a finger width. So it's a small motion of the jaw. Jaw gently opens on the in-breath, the jaw gently closes on the out-breath. And along with that, the lips are closed and the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth. It's the flat of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So the lips are closed and relaxed, the tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth, and they both stay like that. The lips stay relaxed and closed, the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth, on the in-breath and on the out-breath. And as you breathe in, the jaw gently opens, and as you breathe out, the jaw gently closes. And we're going to go through some exercises just to get that going, because it is not easy just to do that. So we're going to go through some exercises to bring that about. And it starts off as an exercise, as a doing, but after a little while there's a certain thing happens, and it just becomes very relaxing, and it starts an internal memory that's within the cells, and the motion just happens by itself, and it starts taking people into quite a deep meditative and healing place. So we will be learning that, and then later, as we go into further principles of it in this seminar, I'll be showing why it feels so natural, or why it is totally natural. But we will start with that. We'll just start with the learning of holographic breathing. And this first time you do that, to be able to learn it, it is good to be sitting up, and to start off with, it is good to have your eyes open and watching the screen, so you can see what I'm doing. Then at a certain point, when it starts becoming much more meditative, then closing the eyes. We will start that now, the learning of holographic breathing. And to start off with, in this very first part, we're just going to do a little meditation before we start. In this, you can close your eyes if you want, because we're not learning holographic breathing per se. We're just containing the energies and giving a format for the session. And we're going to connect to the earth and the higher self. So for this, you can close your eyes. So closing your eyes, and send a smile, send some energy to the earth, and allow the earth to say hello back. Allow yourself to receive from the earth, and notice what that feels like through your whole body and through your energies, saying hello to the earth with your energy, and allowing yourself to receive back from the earth. And then send a smile to the higher self, send some energy to the higher self, and allow the higher self to say hello back. Allow yourself to receive from the higher self, and notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies, and asking the earth and the higher self to be with you through the whole session as a healing presence and a resource. Okay, so now we're going to start with the holographic breathing. It's good to participate in the whole of this guided meditation to learn holographic breathing. All of the parts are important and they all integrate for a complete and balanced experience. I hope you enjoy. Now we're going to go through some exercises to learn the holographic breathing. You can do this either with your eyes open or eyes closed, whatever you feel to start off with, and then when we get to the meditational part, let your eyes closed. So to start off with, just having the lips closed and gently opening and closing the jaw. So you get the experience that it's easy to move the jaw with the lips closed. It's small motion of the jaw, 4 or 5 millimeters, quarter of an inch, if that. And then align that with the breath. So the jaw is opening as you breathe in, the jaw is closing as you breathe out. As you open the jaw, the breath comes in through your nose. As you close the jaw, the breath leaves through your nose. So you get the feeling it's easy to move the jaw and have the lips closed and breathe. Okay, now you can let that come to an end. The lips stay closed and relaxed, bringing the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Now it's the upper surface of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. The tip of the tongue will be touching or close to the front teeth, and as much of the tongue on the roof of the mouth as feels comfortable. So it may be half an inch the tongue on the roof of the mouth, it may be an inch of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. The whole tongue may cover the whole roof of the mouth, but not in a forceful way. Whatever feels most comfortable, and just gently breathing with the tongue on the roof of the mouth, becoming used to that. The upper surface of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and as much as feels comfortable. Okay, so the tongue stays there, gently breathing through your nose. And now we're going to join that with the movement of the jaw. So the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth, and start opening and closing the jaw very gently. And as the jaw opens, the breath comes in through the nose, and as the jaw closes, the breath comes out through the nose. So it's like a little pump. Notice how that gentle motion of the jaw, it brings the breath in through the nose as you breathe in, and then it lets the breath come out through the nose as you breathe out. It's like a little bellows. Small, relaxed motion of the jaw. And now turning that around, so it's not the jaw opens and the breath comes in through the nose, it's the other way round. As you breathe in, the jaw gently opens. As you breathe out, the jaw gently closes. And when you start doing it in this way, you'll notice it becomes much more meditative. It's harder to keep the eyes open. You drop more into a meditative state. Breathing in through the nose, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed. The lips are relaxed and closed all of the time. The tongue is relaxed and on the roof of the mouth all of the time, on the in-breath and on the out-breath. The lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. And at a certain point, it just becomes automatic. It just becomes part of your breath. And you start moving, feeling an energy and a movement traveling through your whole body. The teeth, as you breathe in, they're separating, they're parting. As you breathe out, the teeth are coming back together. But you can have it so either they just touch and float together, or they just stay slightly separate, so there's no force. The jaw is not held by the teeth being pressed together. Either they just float gently together, or you can have it so they don't touch at all. Breathing in, the jaw gently opens. Breathing out, the jaw gently closes, relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head. Gently breathing. It's good to have the eyes closed now. Breathing in, the jaw gently opens. Breathing out, the jaw gently closes. And aligning it with your chest, so as the chest is opening on the in-breath, the jaw gently opening with it. The chest is closing on the out-breath, the jaw is gently closing with it. The jaw is moving with the body. It starts off a movement of the jaw, but then it synchronizes with the body, and as the body breathes in, the jaw opens with it. As the body breathes out, the jaw closes with it. Relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head, and energy comes with this. You will connect to the universe and the higher energies and the earth, and it's good to relax the neck and the back of the head so those energies can go through. The lips are relaxed and closed all of the time. The tongue is relaxed and on the roof of the mouth all of the time. And dropping down in the body, as the abdomen opens, the jaw opens, the lips stay closed but the jaw opens, the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth but the jaw opens. As the abdomen closes, the jaw gently closes. The teeth either just float separate to each other or just very gently touch. Relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head. If it feels awkward or hard in any way, let the breath move the jaw. As you breathe in through the nose, that is opening the jaw. As you breathe out through the nose, that is closing the jaw. Slow, soft, relaxing movements of the jaw. Notice how a whole energy and breath starts to move through your whole face, through your whole cranium, through your brain, through your neck and throat and whole body. But it starts something new. Your face and cranium and brain start to breathe. Relaxing the throat. The whole body breathing, the pelvis, the arms, the legs, opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. Relaxing and letting the holographic breathing work. Be aware of the energies. You may feel an energy moving through your spine, through your cranium, through your face. Whatever you're feeling is fine. Breathe in, every cell is opening and the jaw gently opening with it. As you breathe out, every cell is closing and the jaw is closing. Lips are relaxed and closed all of the time. The tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth all of the time. The arms and legs relaxed, very subtle breath moving through the arms and legs. Everything starts to breathe, everything starts to relax. Allow yourself to breathe and connect with the earth. Allow yourself to breathe and connect with the higher self and the higher energies. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back. Okay, so now we're going to go into the more advanced section of this tutorial, and there are many more tutorials like this on my website. You can go to those by just clicking on the link in the description below, and that will take you to the advanced section on my website, and you can enjoy further advanced tutorials. Also, these all come from webinars, and there'll also be a link to the webinars, so if you wish to engage in these live, you can do so, and there's a whole energy to the creation of these, so I hope you enjoy and try that. So for this tutorial there are 3 lectures coming up and 3 guided meditations, 1 guided meditation to go with each lecture. And there's a whole process to this, so it is good to stay with the whole process all the way through. You don't have to, but it's good to. And even if you don't particularly understand the lecture part, it is good because there's 3D models and things to show you what's happening, and it just preps you for the meditation. And even if the intellect is not understanding, it goes in on an energy and body level. So don't worry if you phase out a bit in the lectures. It all helps. It all adds to a process, and I hope you enjoy that. I hope it works really well. I hope you enjoy holographic breathing. I hope it's beneficial. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you carry on and do more holographic breathing, and that one day I may also see you in a webinar. All right, here we go. In this part, I'm going to show you why it feels so natural and what is actually happening physiologically for it to feel so natural. And also for me, why it is meant to be. It is kind of hardwired into our system. It's as if it's already there and comes to life, and I'll be showing some of the reasons why that is. Now, one thing that happens as we breathe in, the ribs are rising, and as we breathe out, the ribs are dropping, and as they rise, there becomes more space here, because when they're angled down, this is flatter and there's less space, and then as they rise, then it makes this deeper and there's more space. But for the ribs to rise, the muscles are contracting, so there's actually a contraction to raise the ribs. Now, we don't feel that contraction of the muscles, we just feel an expansion of the space, because it would be counterproductive to our breath to feel a contraction on the in-breath. And also the diaphragm dropping, this is a contraction, the muscles are contracting, the diaphragm is pulling down. So the overall thing is of an opening. This is rising, that is causing more space. The diaphragm is dropping, that is causing more space. So we experience it as an expansion. But to get that expansion, the muscles are contracting. And for the ribs to rise, the muscles of the throat and the neck also have to contract, because the ribs are all joining into the throat and the neck, and from there to the jaw and the cranium. So they're all shortening slightly to allow the ribs to rise. And they're contracting, but we don't feel that contraction. It's just an unconscious, gentle contracting of all of the muscles, and the effect of that is an opening, or at least in the chest. Now, I've made this model. It's a bit different to the one that I showed in the other groups, and it's a bit like a pink Terminator, if you've seen that film, where the Terminators are kind of a skull, but they still have all the muscles down here. Now, this here is the muscle, or there's a pair of muscles there between the hyoid bone, which is here, and the top of the ribs that is here. So this muscle will shorten to lift the ribs up. And also, as this muscle shortens, the other effect of shortening this muscle, if you just shorten the muscle and the ribs stay where they are, what happens as that muscle shortens, notice the jaw opens. So it shortens to raise the ribs, it shortens to open the jaw, it lengthens to let the ribs relax down, and it lengthens to let the jaw close. So we have that effect if the jaw is just allowed to move with the motion of the ribs, as we breathe in, that muscle will shorten front and back, and the jaw will open. As we breathe out, that muscle will lengthen to drop the ribs, and the jaw will close. So if the jaw is not held, if the jaw is just allowed to move with the muscles of the breath, the natural thing to happen is this: breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. As the muscles contract, the ribs rise, the jaw opens. As the muscle lengthens, the ribs drop and the jaw closes. And this is balanced all the way round. All of these muscles do the same thing, and it's balanced front to back. It won't close so much because the back doesn't drop down, but it has to put a tension there because there's a tension to pull down the jaw. So all of the muscles all round the throat and the cranium, they either have a tension in them or they're opening on the in-breath, closing, or the muscles are shortening, which opens the jaw, and it actually opens all the bones of the cranium, and on the out-breath it closes. So all of these muscles are pulling down, and the only thing they're pulling down on is the spine. So the cranium is being pulled down onto the spine, and the effect of that is that it opens all the cranial bones and the face on the in-breath, and all the cranial bones, as these lengthen and the spine drops down from it, or the head raises from it, they all close on the out-breath. So this instigates the movement of the breath through the face and the cranium. And as the jaw drops, you've got this muscle here which lengthens slightly with it onto the zygomatic arch. That is opening the zygomatic arch on the in-breath, closing it on the out-breath. And you've got this muscle connect to the top of the jaw. So jaw opens, that is pulling across the whole temporal bone, the sides of the cranium, the parietal bones, opens these bones on the in-breath, closes them on the out-breath. And this produces the same motion in the bones as cranial osteopaths and cranial sacral therapists palpate when they're working with a more spiritual breath. But I show how those movements happen in our normal breath. Now, from what I'm aware of, this doesn't happen when we breathe normally. But as soon as we allow the jaw to relax and move with the breath, suddenly instigates that all of these bones can move with the breath. So you get this effect of all of the bones of the face and cranium opening on the in-breath and closing on the out-breath. And this is deeply healing for the whole face and cranium, for the spine, for the brain, for the energies. So that is one way to show why holographic breathing feels so natural. Another reason, you've got the hyoid bone here, which is connected to the jaw, which pulls down. This muscle shortens, pulls down the hyoid bone, which is here, pulls down the jaw. It's connected to the jaw at the front there, to the underside of the cranium there. As this drops, the jaw drops. Breathing in, breathing out. Also, this bone, the trachea, this tube that goes down to the lungs, joins to the hyoid bone, and behind that the esophagus, where the food drops down, connects to the back of the hyoid bone there. They both come up and join to the hyoid bone. So also if we allow the jaw to be relaxed, as the diaphragm drops, the lungs come down with it. The trachea, which is part of the lungs, also comes down, which is attached to the hyoid. So if we allow the jaw to be relaxed and to move with the breath, the diaphragm drops, the lungs, the trachea drops, the hyoid bone's dropping, and the jaw will drop down with it. So just by the diaphragm dropping, the hyoid bone drops. If we allow the jaw to drop, it will drop. As the diaphragm drops, the jaw drops. As the diaphragm rises, the jaw rises. So it is natural. For me, it is actually more natural than our normal breath, or for me it's more natural than my normal breath. I just do holographic breathing all of the time. So, and then the hyoid bone is also connected to the tongue, which is connected to the roof of the mouth and produces this energy through the roof of the mouth. So with that, also from that, as the diaphragm is dropping, the stomach is under the diaphragm, the stomach is also dropping, and you've got the esophagus, well, coming from behind, from coming up through the diaphragm to the back of the trachea and joining to the hyoid bone. So as the stomach drops, it pulls down the esophagus, pulls down the hyoid bone. If the jaw is allowed to move with the breath, it will just drop on the in-breath and it will rise on the out-breath. So holographic breathing is a totally natural thing that automatically happens if we allow the jaw to be relaxed when we breathe. That is why when I'm teaching holographic breathing, that it starts as an exercise, then at a certain point you say, wow, this feels totally natural. And at that point, an energy starts moving through the body. There's a connection to creation and the earth. There's a connection to the higher self. We're not imposing a foreign breath on the body. This is not a technique. All we're doing is allowing the jaw to move with the breath in a way that it would do if we weren't stopping it doing that in the first place. So there's an interesting thing. As the diaphragm drops, the lungs are all dropping, but the ribs are rising. So you get the esophagus and the trachea dropping, the lungs dropping, the diaphragm dropping, but at the same time the ribs are rising. So they're going in opposite directions. And we can feel this in the trachea and the top of the ribs. And in this next exercise or meditation, at a certain point I'm going to ask you just to bring a finger and a thumb to either side of the tree from one hand, and then with the other hand have the finger and thumb on top of the sternum there, on top of the top ribs. And as you breathe in with holographic breathing, as the jaw drops, the trachea is dropping, the ribs are rising, and you'll feel the hands coming more together. And then as you breathe out, the ribs are dropping and the trachea is rising, and you'll feel them shifting apart. So that is an important thing to find with holographic breathing. And what I will do halfway through that meditation, when we're feeling that, I'll ask you to stop moving your jaw. And the only way to do that, because it's so natural, is just to have the teeth very gently touching so they're not moving anymore. And then you'll notice this whole deeper breath and this whole movement, well, for me anyway, it just comes to an end, and it's a very different type of breathing. And then after a few breaths, allowing the jaw to drop on the in-breath, and you'll feel this whole motion starting. You'll feel the whole diaphragm becoming much more relaxed. I give many things away free of charge in holographic breathing. There's a lot of free tutorials, a lot of free videos. And I also have a section which is paid for tutorials, and also the normal webinars are paid for. And the difference between the free videos are great, they're powerful, they're strong, they work very well. And the paid for ones is, in the paid for ones, I'm teaching the inner dynamics of holographic breathing, how it works, and each one takes it deeper and opens up a whole new paradigm. So the whole way that you're doing holographic breathing just opens and changes systematically as you learn new principles. And this particular webinar is one of those, because as you learn these different principles that I'm teaching you through this, it opens up the way you're doing holographic breathing. Not that you take on something new, in that it just ignites whatever is there. Okay, so closing your eyes and dropping into the holographic breathing. The lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is relaxed and on the roof of the mouth. And on the in-breath, the jaw is gently opening. And on the out-breath, the jaw is gently closing. The teeth stay separate or just very lightly touching on the out-breath, and it's the flat of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Breathing in, the jaw gently opens. Breathing out, the jaw gently closes. Breathing in, the chest is opening. The jaw opens. Breathing out, the chest closes. The jaw closes. They move together. Breathing in, the diaphragm is dropping and the abdomen is opening and the jaw is dropping. Breathing out, the jaw and the diaphragm are moving together. They drop and open together. They rise and close together. Notice how the movement of the diaphragm is connected to the jaw. As the diaphragm drops, the lungs, the esophagus, the trachea all dropping. These connect to the hyoid. The hyoid bone drops. The jaw drops down or opens with the hyoid bone, and the tongue stays relaxed and connected to the roof of the mouth. Breathing out, the lungs, the diaphragm, this whole system rises, the hyoid bone rises, the jaw relaxes, closed. So the jaw and the hyoid bone are moving together with the diaphragm. Just that effect of the diaphragm dropping is also dropping the jaw. And notice how this connects through the tongue to the roof of the mouth. The hyoid bone is connected to the tongue tongue is angled forwards and slightly up from the hyoid bone, but they're connected, and the tongue connected to the roof of the mouth. Kind of massages the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So as the abdomen opens, the diaphragm drops, the jaw gently opens with it. As the diaphragm rises, the jaw gently rises with it. It's all connected to the tongue and the roof of the mouth. We allow the jaw to fall and rise with the diaphragm. And it's just natural, you just have to allow it, and that is what happens. Now I want you to bring two fingers, a finger and a thumb either side of the trachea, and a finger and a thumb on the top of the sternum. So notice as the diaphragm drops, very subtly, the trachea and jaw are dropping down with the diaphragm. As the diaphragm drops, you can feel that impetus in the trachea. The trachea drops with it. As the diaphragm rises, the trachea rises with it. As long as the jaw is relaxed and moving, as the diaphragm drops, the trachea drops, and you can feel that in your finger and thumb. And as that is happening, the ribs are rising, so the bottom hand is coming a little bit closer to the top hand on the in-breath. They're subtly moving towards each other. And on the out-breath, they're separating, or subtly separating. So you can feel the trachea dropping down inside the ribs on the in-breath. And the trachea subtly rising out of the ribs on the out-breath. And that means in the lungs that the lungs are not connected to the ribs. The lungs are dropping and expanding. The ribs are rising and expanding, and you've got a fluid between the two. They're not connected to each other. There's a fluid separating them. The lungs are dropping and expanding on the in-breath, and the ribs are rising and expanding on the in-breath. The ribs are dropping and contracting on the out-breath. The diaphragm and throat and jaw are rising and contracting on the out-breath. So there's this polarity between the ribs and between the organs. And feeling the trachea and lungs dropping, the ribs rising on the in-breath, and then separating on the out-breath. Feeling that motion in the diaphragm, dropping with the jaw on the in-breath, rising with the jaw on the out-breath. And now on the next breath, in a very relaxed way, as you breathe out, the diaphragm and the jaw rise. Let the teeth touch and let them stay touched, so the jaw stays still in the next few breaths. Notice what happens. Notice what happens to the diaphragm. The diaphragm changes and the chest changes and the energy, and also this movement between the trachea and the chest becomes fixed. It all, rather than separate, it all becomes one movement, and the diaphragm becomes a bit more solid. Then on the next breath, allowing the jaw and diaphragm to open, and allowing the jaw and diaphragm to close together, and this whole movement of the breath starts happening again. Notice how freer the diaphragm becomes. The jaw and the diaphragm drop and open. The jaw and the diaphragm rise and close together. The abdomen opens, the jaw naturally drops. The abdomen closes, the jaw naturally rises. The tongue stays gently and softly relaxed and connected to the roof of the mouth, being massaged by this movement of the breath. You can take your hands away from the throat now if you wish. The diaphragm drops, the jaw drops, the diaphragm rises, the jaw rises, relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head, relaxing the whole body. The abdomen opens, the diaphragm is dropping, the jaw is dropping. The abdomen closes, the diaphragm is rising, the trachea is rising and the jaw is closing, the tongue connected to the roof of the mouth, relaxed, soft, and just gently be with holographic breathing. Everything opening, the jaw gently opens. Everything closing, the jaw gently closes. It all moves together, relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head, relaxing the whole body. Notice the energy. Notice the subtle energies moving through the body as you do holographic breathing. Notice this subtle, gentle motion in the tongue. Notice in a very subtle way all of the bones of the face and cranium have started to breathe with this motion of the jaw and mouth. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Holographic breathing just naturally happens if you allow the jaw to move naturally with the diaphragm. That is what you get as long as the lips stay relaxed and closed, as long as the tongue stays relaxed and on the roof of the mouth. Holographic breathing is just a natural event of breathing. It creates a whole energy and a whole new paradigm and a whole healing experience that wasn't available before. It opens to a new space and a new healing. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing, feeling the energies traveling through your whole body. Connecting to the earth, connecting to the higher self, connecting to the universe. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back. Now, with again, we've got my pink Terminator here from the Terminator movies. Oops, daisy. Up, up, up. So as we breathe in and the jaw's opening, it's not just the muscles that's opening the jaw. The ribs are rising from all round. So these side muscles are tightening. This back muscle is tightening to balance the front muscle. And what that is doing is pushing the spine up into the cranial base, and all of the bones open on the in-breath and all of the bones close on the out-breath. And that again, that is the same motion as in holographic breathing. I found a stick. Magically there was a stick there. So can you imagine that is the cranium or the brain, and this is the spine. As those muscles, well actually this will make a better cranial base. So you've got the spine coming up, and you can imagine that is the cranial base. As this is pushing up, all of these are opening in the lungs. The lungs can expand down with the diaphragm, they can expand out with the ribs because air can come into it. But the brain and the cranium is a fixed volume. So as that pushes up and widens, it shortens top to bottom and widens on the in-breath, lengthens top to bottom and narrows on the out-breath. So every breath with holographic breathing, you get this movement of the cranium and brain, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And again, that is the same as Sutherland used to say with cranial therapy. And I'll be honest with you, because I did do a 2-year training in craniosacral therapy and a 1-year postgraduate training. My impression, and I'm happy to be wrong, is that they're palpating the latent holographic breathing system, the system that's not properly activated, because the movements are exactly the same and they don't have any explanation. They just say, oh, the spiritual energies come in and do that. I can show how that exact motion happens with the muscles in holographic breathing, how they cause that. And the same thing is happening in the abdomen. You have the diaphragm on top of the abdomen. You have the pelvis and pelvic diaphragm on the bottom. The diaphragms are moving towards each other on the in-breath to cause the abdomen to expand. So as the abdomen's opening, it's not just, oh, I'm pushing the abdomen open. It's the diaphragms, the top diaphragm pulling down to the bottom diaphragm, breathing in, breathing out. Because the abdomen, it cannot receive air. It will stay the same volume. So for it to expand out, it shortens top to bottom. And for the stomach to come back in, it lengthens top to bottom. But it's actually the top to bottom motion that's causing it. These muscles are pulling together and all of the muscles around the abdomen are relaxing to let it expand out. And so that's the in-breath and that's the out-breath. And you don't want to feel the muscles because you don't want to get the sensation of a contraction, because that goes against our experience of the in-breath being an expansion. But within holographic breathing, you can feel that motion through the body. And once you feel it in the abdomen, shortening top to bottom, expanding on the in-breath, lengthening top to bottom, shortening on the out-breath, then you start feeling it through the whole body. You feel it between the top of the head and the pelvic floor. The whole body shortening on the in-breath, to allow it to open. And as you feel that shortening, because you don't want to feel the muscles contracting, but the muscles through the whole body are doing that to allow this expansion. It's not just the abdomen's expanding, the chest is expanding, and it gives you a much bigger opening laterally as you feel this slight tension top to bottom. Then on the out breath, this lengthens, and all of this, the abdomen and the chest, come back in. So we're going to get an experience of that in the next meditation. We'll start off with the movement in the chest and get this feeling of the chest and lungs being separate. In our normal breath, they kind of become fixed, they become one, but once the jaw starts moving, the whole lungs can drop and the ribs can rise separately, and this activates the pleura, which are these membranes between the lungs and the ribs with this layer of fluid in them. It activates all of that. So we'll feel that. We'll drop into the abdomen. We'll start feeling the organs of the abdomen, and then we'll start feeling this. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And as that breathes in, it's breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. So in the abdomen and the cranium and whole rest of the body, breathing in, breathing out. There's this general shortening top to bottom on the in-breath and widening, general lengthening on the out-breath, narrowing. And at a certain point, I'll ask you just to allow on the out-breath, as the teeth come together, to let them stay together, so you're no longer doing holographic breathing. Notice what happens to that movement. It's like almost a totally different thing is happening, a whole different physiological thing is happening. The diaphragm is much more movement. Everything has got much more movement and a deeper breath in holographic breathing, just naturally. And we'll find out, we'll feel what happens when we bring the jaw together and see if that all stops, and then when we allow the jaw to move, whether this whole thing starts again. So closing your eyes and dropping into the holographic breathing. The in-breath, the jaw is gently opening. On the out-breath, the jaw gently closing. The tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth. Notice the diaphragm drops, the jaw drops. You can feel the connection to the tongue on the roof of the mouth. The diaphragm rises, the jaw and the tongue rise together. Notice how connected they are. Breathing in, the diaphragm, the tongue and the jaw drop. Breathing out, the diaphragm, the tongue and the jaw rise. And as that happens, notice the whole lungs drop and expand out with the ribs. And then on the out breath, the whole lungs rise and narrow within the ribs. So the lungs are moving down on the in-breath as the ribs rise up. And the lungs are rising up on the out-breath as the ribs are rising, going down. So they're moving in opposite directions. The lungs are sliding within the ribs. The lungs are sliding down and opening as the ribs are rising. The lungs are rising and narrowing as the ribs are dropping. And this is ventilating the fluid between the lungs and the ribs. Breathing in, they're opening. Breathing out, they're closing. Being aware of the diaphragm, the jaw, the tongue, and the roof of the mouth, opening and dropping on the in-breath, rising and closing on the out-breath. And being aware of all of the organs in the abdomen, they're opening on the in-breath, dropping, the diaphragm is pressing them down, and they're opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. They're connecting to the jaw. As the diaphragm drops and these expand, the jaw drops, and on the out-breath the jaw rises. And feeling right down to the pelvic floor and the base of the pelvis. As the diaphragm drops, it's pulling towards the pelvic floor. They're pulling towards each other on the in-breath, and the abdomen is expanding. They're relaxing away from each other on the out-breath, and the abdomen is narrowing. As the jaw drops, the diaphragms are pulling together and letting the abdomen expand. As the jaw rises, the diaphragms are moving apart and the abdomen narrows. So as the diaphragm drops and pulls together, the jaw opens with this. And as the diaphragms relax and separate, the jaw closes. And you start feeling this through your whole body. You can feel it from the pelvic diaphragm to the roof of the mouth and the cranial base. As the diaphragm drops, the pelvic floor is pulling up, the roof of the mouth and the cranial base are pulling down. So the pelvic floor is pulling up to the whole base of the face and cranium, and the body is widening. Breathing out. The pelvic floor is drifting down and moving away from the cranial base, and the whole body is narrowing, so it's like a ball, and the jaw is just moving with it, and the tongue is staying on the roof of the mouth. So from the whole base of the cranium and face, breathing in, it's shortening towards the pelvis on the in-breath. The whole body and ribs are widening. The cranial base and the base of the face are moving away from the pelvis on the out-breath, and the whole body is narrowing. You can feel it from the top of the head to the base of the pelvis and the pelvic diaphragm. Breathing in, these are pulling together, and the brain, the face, the body is expanding on the in-breath. As it shortens, it expands, and as the body lengthens, the body narrows. So the whole spine is shortening as you breathe in. The whole spine is lengthening as you breathe out. You have to remember to let the jaw move with this. The whole body is shortening, the jaw is relaxing open. And as the whole body is lengthening, the jaw is relaxing closed. And on the next breath, as the whole body is lengthening and narrowing, allowing the teeth to come together, and let the teeth stay together on the next breath. So you go back to your normal breath and notice what happens to this whole shortening and lengthening of the body when the jaw stays together. Notice if that whole dynamic and energy just comes to an end. Notice what happens to that function, that reality, when the jaw, teeth stay connected. Notice what happens to the energy. Notice what happens to the diaphragm. Then on the next breath, as you breathe in, the jaw gently relaxes open. On the out breath, the jaw relaxes closed. Notice what happens to the diaphragm. The jaw opens, the diaphragm opens together. The diaphragm closes, the jaw closes together. They start moving together. And this whole shortening, like drawing a bow, the body is shortening top to bottom and widening sideways on the in-breath. On the out-breath, the whole body is lengthening and narrowing, relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head. Notice how this shortening of the body really encourages the lungs to really open and the ribs to really open. We shorten top to bottom, the ribs really open. As we lengthen on the out breath, the ribs close. Notice how this activates the breath in the lungs. In the chest. And as we shorten top to bottom on the in-breath, notice how this activates the whole abdomen to expand, letting the muscles in the abdomen relax and expand sideways. Notice how shortening top to bottom emphasizes that, and then as we lengthen it top to bottom, that all narrows back in. So holographic breathing gives you a much deeper breath, and it activates this top to bottom shortening and lengthening with every breath. And this activates the whole spine. The spine is shortening on the in-breath, and then the spine is lengthening on the out-breath. This is deeply, deeply healing. And you can let that become much easier and softer and more subtle, just being with the holographic breathing and noticing the energies moving in the body. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back. We're just going to do a very short one now to incorporate the roof of the mouth. So in the face, the reason holographic breathing is called holographic breathing is because it's the same image over and over. And in the face, the jaw relates to the pelvis. The tongue relates to the abdomen and organs, the roof of the mouth to the diaphragm. The nasal passageways, can you see the 4 ventricles? These are like the heart. The maxillary sinuses are like the lungs. The eyes relate to the brain. The ethmoid, which is in the middle, also relates to the brain. And the cranial fluid. So it's a mirror of the whole body. And if we allow it, if we, rather than think of the roof of the mouth as solid, if we allow it to be soft, so the diaphragm drops, the hyoid bone's dropping, which is connecting to the tongue's dropping, that's suction to the roof of the mouth drops on the in-breath and rises on the out-breath, and that instigates the breath through the whole face. That starts the whole face breathing. Now, we're not going to go into that in a great deal of depth in this session, but we will just activate it a little bit. We go into many different aspects of that in later webinars, but we will activate that a bit. So we're going to do that now, just to open up that a bit through the whole face. So let's do that. So closing your eyes, dropping into the holographic breathing. The diaphragm drops on the in-breath, the jaw drops. The diaphragm rises on the out-breath, the jaw rises. The tongue is on the roof of the mouth. On the in-breath, the tongue is very gently pulling down. And on the out-breath, the tongue is very gently rising. And if you allow it, the roof of the mouth in a very subtle and energetic way will do the same thing. As you breathe in, as the diaphragm drops, the roof of the mouth drops. As the diaphragm rises, the roof of the mouth rises. And then very subtly, as the roof of the mouth starts to breathe, all of the structures of the face and cranium also start to breathe. Breathing in, the diaphragm drops, the roof of the mouth drops. On the out-breath, the diaphragm rises, the roof of the mouth rises and domes. They move together. Notice what this does to your face and cranium. Suddenly all the bones of the face start to breathe. The bones of the cranium start to breathe. It releases off through the top of the head, and you can connect to the universal energies. Starts breathing with the diaphragm. The roof of the mouth is the diaphragm for the face, and it moves with the diaphragm of the body. Same time, same thing. The lips stay relaxed and closed. The diaphragm drops, the tongue drops, the roof of the mouth drops. The diaphragm rises, the tongue rises, the roof of the mouth rises. You can feel it. It's also good to feel the pull down in the back of the cranium. The roof of the mouth pulls down. Also, the back of the cranium is pulling down and opening with the back of the diaphragm. It's balancing. The roof of the mouth is the same level as the base of the cranium. They're both pulling down together. They're both rising together. And as that happens, you get this whole shortening and lengthening top to bottom. It's not just the roof of the mouth and the base of the cranium dropping down with the diaphragm and rising with the diaphragm. Also from the top of the head is dropping with the diaphragm, pulling down to the pelvic floor. And then on the out breath it's all rising. So as we breathe in, the roof of the mouth drops with the diaphragm. The back and sides of the cranium are being pulled down with the diaphragm. The top of the head is being pulled down with the diaphragm. And it's all being pulled down towards the pelvic floor. So the whole body shortens on the in-breath, and the whole body lengthens on the out-breath. As the whole body shortens, it widens. Allow it to widen, the chest and the abdomen. On the out-breath, the whole body lengthens and narrows. And as this happens, on the in-breath, the roof of the mouth is dropping. And on the out-breath, it's rising with the back of the cranium, with the roof of the head, with the diaphragm. Holographic breathing is meant to be. It's not a practice. It is already there, completely programmed into our body and energies on every level, and is totally and utterly part of us. All we have to do is allow it to happen, and all we have to do is to allow the jaw to naturally open on the in-breath and naturally close on the out-breath, and it just starts activating all of these systems through our whole body. So letting that happen through your whole body, and let it relax, let it become more subtle. Let it become more soft. And sending a thank you to the earth. Sending a thank you to the higher self. Sending a thank you to yourself. Letting the healing energies go back to the earth for love and healing. Allowing the healing energies to go back to the higher self for love and healing. Allowing the healing energies to go out to all sentient beings for love and healing. And you are a sentient being, allowing yourself to be loved and healed. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back. And when you feel ready, gently allowing your eyes to open. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this holographic breathing tutorial. If you have, please like and subscribe to my channel. There are many more of these advanced tutorials on my website. There's a link in the description below. These are all made from webinars or recordings of webinars, and you can also come to these webinars. There's a link to those also in the description below. So anyway, it'd be great to see you on a webinar one day, and also I really hope you continue to enjoy holographic breathing. Have a great day. Thank you.